Alright, welcome back to another episode. Alright, so just a heads up, I'm on baby detail, so there's a good chance that this might get interrupted and I won't get very far, but we'll see. Also, I'm going to be a bit scattershot and we're going to change direction a little bit. When we finished the last episode, we were messing with some styles, which is all good and well, but doesn't really matter. So, not right now anyway. Um, it is something I want to mess with, but we can close that out for now. One thing that one thing that does matter is that the HTTP server is really junked up and still doesn't do a couple things. For instance, it doesn't necessarily use the correct method, right? So like right now, it handles everything as if it's a get for a file, and that's not necessarily the case. So we're going to play in here a little bit today, and we might get to something else. But for right now, we're going to play a little bit in here, which means that we don't need much of this, but we might use it a little bit. We'll see. Clear this out. Okay. So the only reason we need to read a file is if the request. So those are just our defaults. Let's do var method equals, and then I don't know. So let's look here. We don't need a new tab. So not the response, but the request, and that is going to have. Well, let's just go look at it. To make a request, cookie content, get header content length, get header content type, remove header, set header, socket right, incoming message, which is a little different than the version. Okay, message dot method. Okay, so method. Let's just console log. Do that. We'll save. We'll start. We'll refresh. Broken. Everything is broken. Oh. Don't know what I was doing there. Try again. Refresh. Still mad. Oh. Wow. Sorry. It's taken me a minute to wake up this morning. I mean, it is like 5 o'clock in the morning. There we go. Get. Okay, so all caps. So just to be safe, let's do 2. Okay. Like that. Save. Start. Fresh. It's mad at me. I mean, can't remember everything. Okay, there we go. So that is that. All right. So then switch method. I know I'm using a lot of switch cases here. There we go. Case get. We're just gonna call to the response. Get post put delete default response dot status code equals four, 5. Method not allowed. And then response dot end. All right. So then we'll need that. The majority of this here is going to request response. I'm going to rename them up here too. Request response. Response. There's an easier way. Nope. Okay. All right. Paste that in. All right. No. It's kind of annoying. All right, let's do this. Where else? What did I see? There we go. All right. Yeah, that is a okay. I was looking at this to see if I think that it's a responsibility of a get handler to determine that, and I think it is. Although we'll come up with something more sophisticated a little bit later, but for now, that can be a get handler. There we go. Alright, and then eventually, what we really want is we want for the, nope, broke it. There we go. Eventually we want for the user to be able to determine what to do here. We'll have to figure out how we want to handle that, but for right now, that ought to do. Yeah. All right. Save that. Okay. So now, hopefully it runs. It runs. Yay. Okay. That's working. It's a little refactored. We actually probably are going to want to do a lot more than that. For instance, we're going to create a register function to register the handlers, right? Which we can go ahead and abstract right now. So if we say stat register get handler, or register handler get this get handler. All right, so we do that, right? So we need to create that function. Register handler method and handler. Okay, so then we just simply say this dot handlers method equals handler. This will work for now. I'm going to refactor this because we want the ability to have middleware, kind of like Express, eventually. So, but for right now, this will work. I've just got to think about how I want to handle the middleware. So then on construction, we would say this dot handlers equals an empty array. All right. And then we would say request handler. So instead of the switch case, all we really need is try. We're going to say const handler equals this handlers method if handler then handler request. response else method not supported, or method not allowed. That's pretty simple. All right, that's much better. Okay, and we just have a default handler. Okay, so then actually, this isn't the get handler. This is more of a static asset handler, right? Because that's all it does, is it just handles static assets. Right. Okay. So I'm thinking, how much time? Okay, yeah, we got a little bit of time. All right. So instead of this, okay, so register handler. So this handler's method equals this handler's method or an empty array. All right. And then this dot handlers method dot push handler. All right, so this will be the start of the middleware, and then so what's going to happen is instead of this, yeah, we can do that. So we can essentially use recursion. So yeah. So if the handlers, right, are passed, all right, let's think about this for a second. So the flow is that we are going to pass this in. So if handler, right, so then that gives us the first one, right? So we're going to say we're going to say const starting handler equals handlers dot pop no unshift Unshift. Just like the push method, only it works at the beginning of the array. The unshift should be shift. Removes the first element from an array and returns that removed element. This method changes the length of the, okay. Yeah, so shift. Alright, so we get the starting handler, which we can just call handler. Alright. And then we're going to do that, and we're going to pass in this, which we'll call I feel like I'm spelling that wrong. Dot shift shift oops handlers dot shift which is going to return a function that will take the request, the response, and this function. Okay. So this needs to be a function that can recurse. So this dot next handlers. If handlers, then we will call this next request response handlers. Okay, just like that. All right, and then just like everything else, this next request response handlers is not this, just there. So what it's going to do so when you call next, so to get it started, we'll do that, right? Something like that. Right, so if we have handlers, then we have to at least have one handler. And then we can get started with that. I'm never calling next. So the static asset handler, which would be the first one registered, yep. Alright, so it's never calling next. So this should actually function. Nope, it's mad at me. Huh, that's funny. Cannot set property get of undefined. Okay. So let's try that. That is on 25. Yeah. So this it should at a bare minimum equal that. No. Yep. Did it to myself again. Okay, let's try that again. Hey, we're running. Does it actually work? Of course not. All right. Response is not defined. Oh, repsonce, of course. 49. Get rid of the typos, might actually get somewhere. Can I read base pack property of? Oh, okay. Okay. Hey, we're getting somewhere. Handler is not a function. Okay, this next request response handlers. Line 49. Handler is not a function. Should be. Let's try that. We're getting somewhere. Ah. Right. No. Right. Right. Because it's shifting them off. Okay. All right. We need to not pass in the quick copy array JavaScript. For blink browser, slice is fastest method and cat is a bit slower, and while loop is 2.4 times slower. For other browsers, while loop is the fastest method. Since those browsers don't have internal optimizations for slice and cat, this remains true in July 2016. What are blink browsers? Alright, so slice 0. Whatever. Slice 0. There. That way. And so it worked the first time, then it didn't work for the other two assets because we had pulled the things off. Boom. Magic. Alright. So, drop that. So, essentially, fantastic. And again, we're out of time. Alright. Okay. So you can see we've started the beginnings of middleware. We'll be able to pull this out into a static asset file handler, static file handler middleware that we can then just register. I might change the name of that to something else, but there we go. Yeah. All right. That's it for today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you for watching.